our Facebook group. So if you haven't joined the Facebook group, just search for Radon Pros, tips, training, and business building. There are some different um, Radon groups out there, but we're that's the one that we've got going here for this group. So we hope that you can join us there. There's been some great conversations in there, and really hoping to see people interact with that. I know a couple days ago, Chris Hayes was asking about grab samplers, and so he was actually, and David, you might know the answer to this. Are there? He's got the it looks like the Radon Away version of that. He was wondering if there's any other options for the grab samplers.
Well, first of all, we decided to make this week, at least my portion of it, sort of a question and answer series. And that's a good question. I was never too crazy about grab samplers, but I got to tell you, my main diagnostic tool later in my mitigation process was a sniffer. And not just any sniffer. I got to tell you, most of you guys that are associated with me and ladies that are associated with me have heard me preach over and over again about the sniffer that's comes from Canada. And this guy spends half of his year making equipment for uranium miners and the other half of his year making equipment for radon. So we love this device. I could probably go on an hour about telling you how many times it's helped us and the different ways you can get value out of it. But as far as I'm concerned, it's about the best diagnostic tool possible. And you have to get to a certain point in your career to put that in the must-buy list, because they are probably approaching 2,000 now. I haven't talked to him lately. He last time I talked to him, he wanted me to do a video, and I was more than willing to do a video. I'll gladly do a video for anything that I think is a quality, valuable tool. But I believe between grab samplers and these type of sniffers, I call them devices, I don't think there's anything that compares to this one. And any of you that want one, I'll make sure that Ben post a picture of the one that I highly recommend. So I think there's a lot of value to them. I think that as I said, that discussion could go on for about an hour, where we could explain the times and the different circumstances that it's been valuable for us. But we can talk about that anytime. But certainly a great question and a great diagnostic tool.
Looks like you got a sniffer there. The CT007-R. Is that the one?
Yes, I think so. And like I say, I'll be able to for sure identify that. Me and there's too many letters and initials to everything you buy nowadays, but I'll make sure that everybody has that available, because my opinion is it's very important, if you're going to do that kind of investment, to buy the right one. And all kinds of things. And as I said, we're going to get carried away for the whole hour if we get started on it. But just as a small example, you can literally stick this thing in a hole and 7 minutes later know what the radon concentration is in that particular area. We've used it under garage floors when you have a home that you're wondering, hey, why aren't my numbers lower? This doesn't make sense. Oftentimes, as most of us know, the garages can do some funny tricks in this industry. So sometimes it's more convenient to find out that number with the sniffer than going through the work of adding that suction point under that floor. So that's just a small example of how they can be valuable. I've got guys that use them in bidding process, where they'll come in, they think it makes them look more professional when they're doing a competitive bid. They'll stick it in a floor drain. Very valuable to stick in a sump basin. You can stick one of these things in a sump basin and and get a reading that's just astronomical sometimes, as we all know. So it's valuable, valuable for a lot of reasons, but I think that's a great question. The grab sampler slash sniffer device is, I think, a great diagnostic tool, about as good as it gets. Anything that reads radon, to me, is a lot more important and valuable than something that just reads flow. So
how does that compare with I mean, I know obviously that's getting into a very specific spot, but like my Radon Eye Pro will give me a reading in 15 minutes. Um, I mean, that was one of the things I liked when when I would go to drop off for test, I would set that thing immediately. And then if I'm just chatting or if I'm getting the schematics, by the time I left somebody's house, I had something, but
well, I think that's a great point too. That the whole concept of testing has gotten so much more advanced just in the last few years. I think it's possible that all of these advances are going to let us know things about radon that we never knew before. But they're certainly going to make it a lot easier to do testing and diagnostics and things that we've never been able to do before. And Ben's absolutely right. There's more than one item that's going to give you some quick numbers. And I just really like the fact that we're able to do it based on advanced technology.
very cool. Well, hey, we like to start out our weeks here or our Zooms. If anybody has some big wins or some cool things, we a couple weeks ago we had the guys that were working on the Frank Lloyd Wright house, which was super cool. Um, I know some of you guys have got some big bids out there. Who's got something they want to share? Anybody? Just
We
business as usual for everybody.
it's hard sometimes as I get it. Ben and I have been through this enough that this a little bit different, but we were going to do the question and answer kind of a week, as I said, but I also started writing down some of the most common questions that I get every day from customers. As you know, that most of you know that I'm sort of available anytime. All of you have my cell phone number, so different questions and problems will come up all the time. And one of the questions that came up this week was, what do you do in an exterior situation where, you're required to add a manometer, so to speak. And so we talked a little bit about the micro manometer that you get for that is pretty expensive, but it sure is valuable. And a liquid manometer simply doesn't work outdoors. The UV rays is going to do something with that liquid, but usually before the liquid gets turned clear, the bugs are going to be in it anyway. So it doesn't really matter what you do to think that you're going to offset bugs, sunlight, raindrops. It's still not going to work ultimately. And I know at least one person on this podcast uses liquid manometers, and puts them in their own sort of a weatherproof box, as we would think of a sub-panel box for electrical. Great idea, and certainly cheaper than the micromanometer. But typically on commercial jobs and on anything that requires an exterior manometer, we use a micromanometer. And as I said, we use it on commercial jobs anyway, because it's just a more professional look. And I submitted some pictures to Ben that show how we do that, and those will be available too through some method. But that was one of the questions I had just this week. What am I going to do? I've got an all exterior system on a slab home, and don't know what I'm going to do for the required manometer in my state. So And I think the most common question I get, and it holds you guys up from you guys and ladies up from building your businesses, is I can't find any help. What am I going to do for help? Uh, the people in this meeting that have extremely big businesses and these people in this meeting that have extremely small businesses all have the same problem. And it's discouraging enough that I think it holds a lot of you guys back from building your business. And I believe that I've been through it all because I started doing this in 1998. But there's many times it held me up, and I worked 7 days a week for many years, as some of you do also, and try to find answers to that. But it certainly halts your growth. And I'm open for. I don't have the answers, but I have a few things that we did to help us get through. And I think as time goes by, unemployment rate's very low. I think we also have a generation that just isn't quite as crazy about physical work as some generations before that. The first time you haul some of these young guys into a crawl space, you got to beg them to stay. So I think that there's a lot of contributing factors to why we can't get help. But the bottom line is it's killing our ability to grow. And it's the number one comment that I get from all the calls I get every day. I get a lot of calls every day, and almost every one of them says, I wish I could find help. I've got the jobs, and I wish I could find help. And for most of us that are in a competitive area, I got 5 guys, okay, 5 mitigators in my area. Most of us guys that are in a competitive area, I think there's, and this is not to get off track, I think there's about four main ways that you lose jobs. And I've always preached, as you know, that I think poor quality is the quickest way to lose jobs with today's resources for reviews. But I also think no personal contact, no site visits, and making the customer wait too long for you to get there. I think we all agree on that. But those last 3, no personal contact, no site visit, and making the customer wait too long, are all associated to not having any help. If you own the company and you don't have enough help, guess what? You're the one in that crawl space. So as I said, 3 of the 4 biggest reasons you can't build your business are related to not being able to get good help or help at all. But I'd like to hear some people's ideas, but I can tell you some of the things we did. I think sometimes we forget that there's a whole bunch of people in this world that work different shifts than the 9 to 5, as they call it, Monday through Friday. So we always worked actually 7 days a week, but we took advantage of those people, everything from farmers. They have their special times they can work and they can't. Firemen, people that work in hospitals. There's all kinds of people. I'd say there's a larger percentage than any of us really think of people in the workforce that work odd shifts or odd days off. And we took advantage of it. If so-and-so was used to working and he did a good job and we really liked him, but he was only available on Tuesdays, we made sure we had a crawl space on Tuesdays. In other words, we worked our schedule around the days we had that amount of help. And so I think that another thing that we did, we really looked for those people that maybe only had a part-time job or had a job that wasn't Monday through Friday and was looking for a way to get ahead by doing second job sort of work. But another thing we did is we went to the high school. And the first thing that I did was when my daughters were in high school, it really helped. But I would approach all the boys and I'd say, hey, the first thing I'd do is I'd approach the athletes, because athletes have to have a work ethic. Now, their availability during the school year may be less, but they have to have a work ethic. They're available all summer. The second thing I'd do is go to the farm boys, because I knew the farm boys Dad made that farm boy work. So between the farm boys, and I'm in a rural area, but between the farm boys and the athletes, I was able to get some very good part-time help. And they were very appreciative because come summer, that's when you're busy anyway. Come summer, I'd give them full-time work. And I think another thing to remember is all of us are a little bit hesitant, once again, not to get off subject, but all of us are a little bit hesitant to take that step to the next level and hire another person or hire another two people, because we sit there and think, well, now wait a minute, I'm barely making it now. But if I hire another person, my profit's going to go down. And then what am I going to tell this person if my business also slides? It's picked up quite a bit, but is that temporary or for real? Well, I think that hurts us all too much, because once again, going backwards here, because you're hesitant to hire that person, now you're working harder. And because you're working harder and putting more work into the physical part of it, once again, no personal contact with the consumer, no site visits, and making the consumer wait longer for the job because you can't figure out how to get there. So I think our worst enemy is not being optimistic. Our second worst enemy is finding anybody to fill the slot if we decide to. So anybody got anything to say about that?
David, I'd like to jump in here. Well, I've got a couple of ideas. The first one is we just added a future mitigator to our business at 340 this morning.
Really?
Trevor had a son. Trevor had a son.
Well, yeah.
And I say that it's kind of funny I say that, but I actually in the last month I hired a second grandson who just turned 14, and he's just helping a little bit here and there. But I mean, some people like the idea of family businesses and some don't, but also I had a situation this last week where an old buddy of mine called, and he said that his son, who I remembered as being slow and not really fit for academics, he said he's working for a construction company. He's a finished carpenter, but they're shorting him hours this month. Could you use him for part-time help? So I thought, well, okay. So we put him on the crew with the crew yesterday, and the whole crew really liked him and liked his work ethics. And, the idea that he was slow didn't even enter into the picture. When I say slow, you know what I mean, just a little bit mentally slow. And yet he's working as a finished carpenter, so I thought, well, there you go. And in fact, today we'll see if if they continue that thought, I may try to snipe him out of the business he's working for. Do a little head hunting. But another thing that I appreciate what you were saying about going into the high schools, because we've struggled with that labor issue as well, even though we mostly are just concentrating on family members because I have a big enough family here. But I was listening to a program on the news this morning about the Gen Z people. The thing that's hurting them from being hired is they don't have enough experience. They got education, but and so by going into the high schools in that, I like that idea, because then you're not only helping yourself, but you're helping the next generation getting a foothold with work ideas and ethics.
Sure.
So anyway,
yeah, I took a lot of pride in the high school kids because some of them had never done a physical type job before, but I took a lot of pride in being able to show them how to be a team member. If the other person you're working with is doing a function and you think there's a minute that you don't really have anything to do, keep thinking about what you can do to make their function go faster, or keep thinking about what you can do to help them on the next move in their function. And it gets to be interesting to them. And I always took a lot of pride in that itself. And you talk about the family thing is, my family always says, I had two daughters. I have two daughters, but they always said I was so lucky for not having a son because I'd have worked him to death. And not that my daughters didn't have to get in crawl spaces and help me do radon, but they were pretty quick to tell me when they'd had enough. And I'm not so sure I would have let a son tell me that. But back to the subject, as I said, I just believe there's also a lot of consideration for the 40% of the world that doesn't work Monday through Friday. We for sure worked every Saturday and took advantage of these type of situations by doing that. If I had to take a Tuesday off because I worked all the other 6 days, fine, even though I didn't take that Tuesday off. But I think that I spoke with one of my customers in Colorado this morning, and she went through the same thing. She said, we don't have any help. We're getting so far behind it. We're working 7 days a week. Well, some of us here are fine with that, but you don't want to burn your help out and then have them look for another job either. So it's a tough thing. And I don't have all the answers, but I understand it's a tough thing in the whole industry, and maybe something that we need to study some more. What are we going to do to make this industry more attractive? Some of my customers have benefits and a pay package that shocks me, even just so they can get help. And if that's the answer, maybe it has to be the answer. But anyway, I just thought that I'd throw that out as my number one question or complaint with all the phone calls I get. And just remember that every time you don't have enough help, you're shorting the customer, and you're not taking advantage of the business you could have, and not to be so scared of hiring that person, because it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off because you'll be better at doing your job. The person that bought my business was my foreman for 15 years. We sold it, a year and a half ago, just the mitigation part, of course. But the first thing I told him for advice was, you are a workaholic. I mean, this guy, whenever I hired somebody, my first question to them was, can you eat a Subway sandwich in 5 minutes? Because he didn't believe, no, he didn't believe in lunch hours. I mean, this guy was a workaholic, but that was almost going to be his worst enemy as a business owner. And I said, you need to know that you need to spend 40% of your day in your pickup truck with your laptop in front of you. You've got to call people. You got to do personal work. And that's going to be your hardest thing, because the guys are going to be down there working and you're going to be sitting in your pickup truck running your business. Well, I guess not to beat it to death, but I guess that we all need to remember that we still have to run the business. You've got to get enough help that you can run the business.
Well,
David,
I'm looking at.
Oh,
go ahead, Ron.
Well, I was just going to say, I wanted to add one more, aspect of this labor thing, and that is to retain who you already have. And you mentioned, David, about burning, getting workers burnt out where they want to move on. And in our business, we've added radon to our line of service. So it's not, we see the idea of getting, we would love to be able to be full-time in radon only, and we see that in our future. But the reality of it is we do other things that are complementary to the radon mitigation business. And we've got people that one guy left, and we were sad when he left because he was such a good guy. And after a couple of years, he came back, and we hired him back in a heartbeat. We've got just with my own sons. I've been to all kinds of trade conventions in the decades that I've been in business, but I never really thought about it until last year, when I thought, these guys need to see that this isn't just something unique that Dad started this business. There's a whole world of people that do what we do. And I took them to a convention and trade show last May, and it just was a huge eye opener and epiphany for them about what it is that we do, and feel a lot more, have a lot more respect for themselves, that they're in a really a bona fide business, not just something dad started and wanted his sons to work in, and they were so on fire about it that they wanted me to take the rest of the team to one. So we're lined out to do that in September. And I ran into another business owner there that took about, I don't know, 6 or 7 of his employees at that trade show. And it was all just about getting them to open their eyes about what it is that we do, and that, to really take pride in the industry and in what we do. So that was my comment, is that not only, to be looking for new people, but what are we doing to make sure that the people we have want to stay with us? Because we had one of my guys was ready to leave, and we're offering to take him to this trade show. And I think that when he sees what it is that we do on a global, in a global arena, he's gonna stay with us. So
Yeah.
just a thought.
Great idea. And just for the rest of you, Ron, of course, is in Alaska. But Ron, when we met, Ron had a successful mold business and still does. And so I think the radon and mold complement each other quite well. And so we're building that radon industry so the people in Alaska can treat radon seriously. So, but as he was saying, he had another business. I wanted you to know that other business is mold, which I think complements radon quite well.
Oh yeah, I don't have to get my team used to crawl spaces. We live in crawl spaces.
We talk about how you got to take care of the help. I noticed early on when I was still leading the crews, every time we get in a truck, the first question would be, okay, what's the day like today? And every time I said we have a crawl space, I'd see those guys' eyes like, I'm going to look for a new job tomorrow. And so this has been a few years ago, but I made a new policy where every day that was a crawl space day, everyone got a $3 an hour bonus. So from that point on, when we got in the truck and they asked me what was going on, if I said crawl space, they smiled. So
for inflation, that's now $35 extra per hour.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ben. So Ben, I don't know what you want to add to this, but do you have any ideas? Ben has worked with me a little bit trying to advertise for help, and it's been long enough to. Ben, why don't you talk a little bit about what you think people could benefit from a different point of view of getting help?
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I'm sitting here writing stuff down. I feel like we should probably do an hour on this in a few weeks, and we can have some people jump in. I obviously serve a lot of different service businesses. The majority of my clients are radon, but I've got people in plumbing and HVAC and everything else, and they'll call me and they'll say, hey, we need to hire somebody, and we just can't find anybody, and nobody, I'm like, you're not special. Everyone is having trouble hiring people. And so you really have to think about what are those things that are making it more attractive. Obviously, for some guys, it's the hours. For some guys, it's the pay. For some guys, it's the benefits. Some guys have families, some guys don't. And people at different stages of their life, I'm thinking about those of you who, I know a lot of people have come and gotten hands-on training with David's team. Years ago, you met Brian. Brian was at a different stage of his life than Dan was, right? And so, they've got 20 years, 30 years of difference in age. And Brian would outwork the younger guys. And so it was that you're looking for that specific, skill, that specific, work ethic. I know a lot of you guys, as David was saying, I've talked with a lot of you. Just talked to David Lawson here. I see he's on here a few days ago. We're chatting on Facebook, and David's got huge company with 100 different services that they provide. I know my HVAC guys who do duct cleaning. That's the lowest thing on the totem pole when you get hired, right? So you start at duct cleaning and you work your way up, and so what are those things like if you have multiple uh, businesses that you've got going on, how can you bring somebody in and vet them as an employee to see if they're, worth moving up and getting trained? And, you'll find those people that end up, leading a crew, which is awesome. And I think one of the things I spent a ton of time studying, Dave Ramsey's plan on, if those of you who are familiar with EntreLeadership stuff, one of the things he does when he hires somebody is they give them basically you're on for 90 days. And at 90 days, you're technically fired and we're going to rehire you if we like you. But at 90 days, it's going to be no harm, no foul. You can move on. We'll move on. And so it's a time that you can bring somebody on and they know that they're earning their job that entire time. And you can see what they're capable of, what they, I know it's difficult not only to get somebody hired, but then to let somebody go. But when you set those expectations up front, I think the biggest thing, and I don't know if anybody said this or whatever, but is giving some type of bonus or bounty or whatever, because your best guy, your best gal that's in there that's working, that's one of those things that they are hanging out with other people like them. If you've got a bum, they hang out with other bums, right? And so you want somebody, so the people that you already know and you trust, if they're going to stand up and give you a name of somebody, I think about the number of times that you're running ads on Indeed or Facebook Jobs or wherever you're going to run it, Craigslist, and you'll spend $1,000 running ads to get somebody that you're not sure about. Give your employee $500 if that person works out. Give them $250 if it works out. You keep that money in your family and in your business family. You got people that are that they are excited to go out and look for. It's like looking for red cars. If I tell you guys to go look for red cars today, you're going to see 1,000 red cars. And if you tell your employees, we need a guy just like you, and I'm going to pay you $500 if they stay for 6 months, then and that is a good caveat to make sure, because they'll hire him and then they'll split the $500 because the guy quits in a week. So you can say, hey, we'll give you, if they're there 90 days, we'll give you $250, and if they stay another 90 days, we'll give you another $250. Those, now you've deputized your team to go out and look for people and find people, and they are bringing them back to you. And so that is the thing that is really I think probably the best way of finding people. So
that's very good, Ben. I wanted to back up just a little bit, but I really like what you just said about including your present employees, because I'm a believer like you that people hang around with people like themselves. But let's just put a scenario out there where, okay, you're in an area where somewhere in your area, there's 10 people looking for a job that's in the work industry. And how do you let them know you're one of the ones that would like to talk to them? That was what one of my questions. I know there's people in my town. There's young guys getting out of high school. There's people that are dissatisfied with what they're doing, but highly qualified. There's people that are just looking for a better situation, better hours, whatever. I know they're out there, but how do I make them know I'm out there? It's putting a sign on your truck when you're doing a job is probably not good enough. Somehow or another, in this modern world, I want to let people know I'm hiring and I'm a good employer, if you're a good employee, please come talk to me. But how does that person, those 10 people, I want them to know I want to talk to them. And how do I do that?
Well, I think we talk about this just in marketing, which is, you spend your time building an audience, whether it's an audience on your Facebook page, it's an audience in an email newsletter, it's an audience that you have, 1,000 names of customers and their home address that you can send a postcard, and you build up that audience over time by either, you earn it through working those jobs, or you earn it for giving out great content, or whatever it may be. And then at that point in time, you leverage that audience. And so you can absolutely, if you've got your a personal Facebook profile, but then you have your business page, Facebook profile. You can get on your own Facebook profile and say, I am looking for great, we're looking for the next great employee. And so you if in Radon specifically, you've got people who, were, saving the world, right? And so if you've got people that join in on this mission, then they will feel compelled to, to help you. I have a handful of my clients that like every single one of my Radon posts on Facebook. And I'm looking at that going, why are you on Facebook looking at Radon content? But they feel compelled to like and share my posts because they know, what we're trying to do in the industry. And so when that person, if you have you can make a post and then you've got people sharing it, things like that. So leveraging your audience of people who know and love you is also a really great way of getting people into your circle. So.
Yeah, and I just thought of one other thing. We can sure move on, but I have a friend that approached, it's been a while, and it just came to mind. He approached his high school. And when I was in high school, the guys that really didn't like trigonometry, mostly guys, but the guys that didn't like trigonometry had what was called shop class. You could get credit for going to shop class and learn how to build things with your hands. You learn how to weld, you learn how to do cabinets, whatever, but it was called shop class. And I think nowadays it has a much more modern name called industrial arts. But he did a presentation at the industrial arts class at the high school. And he talked about radon. He talked about the method of fixing radon, and then followed it up with the, we would be willing to work with you guys. If any of you are interested in coming to work for us, talk to us. Well, a lot of those young men at the time were all men, but a lot of them were close to graduating anyway. And as soon as they got out of high school, they wanted to get a job so they could put gas in that hot rod. And buy dinner for their girlfriend. So they were anxious to go to work right away. And I thought this guy did a good job by going to that industrial arts class, showing them what it was about. And he had an audience that was interested in the subject to begin with, because it had to do with using their hands. So just something that came to mind at the last minute in terms of trying to find help.
Hey, David, it's Bruno. Can I jump in?
Yes.
Yeah, really, all these comments. Our company, we've got just about 60 employees, and we're Radon only. And so I want to tell people, don't give up on the basics. For example, somebody mentioned Indeed. Indeed does work. So don't give up on that. The other thing is that if you guys are a good company, one of the best ways of getting new employees is that after you're done with a job and the customer's just raving about how great of a job it was, that is a perfect time to tell them, hey, we'd love a review, first of all, and we're going to talk about reviews, I hope still, but also if you know anybody that would be interested in working for us, we're always looking for really good people, and we train so they don't need to know anything. So that's the other thing about us. we try really hard to hire the good people, but we pretty much train everybody from scratch. So we're not hiring, past HVAC or plumbers or something. We're hiring people pretty much from scratch that don't have any kind of service experience, and it's worked well. But we realize it's a long haul. I mean, it's a 6 months plus to really get from cradle to grave. And then obviously retention, somebody mentioned that. And then also I want everybody to make sure that you look at the chat. I had a little bit of fun with Photoshop on Ron's behalf, but love this so far.
Well,
Yeah.
and just to comment, Bruno, not to put you on the spot, but I think most of you picked up on the fact that Bruno runs 60 employees. I think that Bruno and I are great friends. I'd like to get Bruno to participate as a contributor one of these days, but I believe that Bruno is the largest mitigation company, independent mitigation company in the United States. And he built that through some great ideas, and this is one of them, I'm sure. So I'm pretty impressed with what Bruno's done coming into this industry. So anyway, we're gonna trick Bruno into being a bigger participant one of these days.
Yeah, good luck. You guys can make sure to miss that episode. Also, I was asked to speak at I don't know what region it is, but next week in Chicago, they asked me to be one of the speakers. So hopefully, some of you guys might be there. It'd be fun to meet you in person.
Sure. I'll have a booth there, by the way, Bruno. So I won't be
Okay.
on the we probably may have to cancel next week because I'll be up there with you in Chicago. So that'll be great. We'll be able to talk a little bit more in person. So I think we've kind of worked this thing a little bit about how important it is to have help so you can still manage your company, and how hard it is to get help. I also wanted to say I'm real excited about a couple of weeks of things that I'd like to talk about. It wasn't the correct timing, but as Bruno said, we've got our regional meeting next weekend in Chicago, and some of you do and some of you don't know. Illinois is the largest and the oldest mitigation state in the country as far as being licensed. And I think in their good years they do. We have to buy a $50 tag for every system, which I support, by the way, believe it or not. But we do 18,000 legal radon systems a year. So it's been very well managed, overqualified people running it, and they were very interested in their job. But we've got a new rule book coming, and I'm very excited to talk about. I participated in that, and I expressed a lot of opinions, sent out letters to people about and suggested a lot of things that may or may not have been taken seriously. But I'm very anxious to talk about what is coming with our new statutes that are going to happen at this meeting, or at least be introduced at this meeting. So I want to have a whole meeting about that because of how interesting it is. And I also want to have a meeting about what we would like to see ARST ANSI do in the future in a positive manner to help us. In other words, studies. I would like to know a lot more about re-entrapment. I'd like to know the dissipation rate of radon, understand and know it better. I would like to know why we're not putting fans in basements. I'd like to know, do we really need to run exhaust points that high? I want to see the facts. I don't want to see someone's opinion, and I'd like to see more studies done about that. So I don't want to go any further about that, because I'd like to have a meeting where we all engage in what we would like to see to help us do our job, or at least tell us why we have to do it the way we're doing it. So
I think the plan is that, and we will not have a call next week because the meeting will be happening in 2 weeks. I think what we'll do is we'll do a recap of what was happening, those new things, and kind of an extension of what's going on here. I know that Janet just was asking if she could jump in and ask a question. Go ahead, Janet. Hold on, make sure you unmute first. Or you have to mime. There you go.
Sorry, let me know if this is irrelevant, but somehow your invitation came through my email and it was like a message from God. So I'm a new purchase of a remediation company here in New York. So, but I did do some business consulting for the prior owner, but it's kind of a ham and egger. So I'm trying to get best practices, and you guys just keep talking about all these things. And I'm like, oh, that's a good, I need that question about why do we have to exhaust it so high? And, what's the other one that you just said? Do you have to run them in basements? And I'm probably at the learning end of the spectrum. So I don't want to, but I didn't know if it was okay for a specific question that's something we're struggling with, or is this the wrong forum?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Is it okay? Okay. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of residential, which have been going really well. Just kind of penetrating the slab out through the business, out through the sill and up the house. I really don't know about the exhaust. Some of those things we're just taking it as a grain of salt and getting some training. You don't need to be EPA certified in New York, but I keep looking for best practices. So, but we did just run into kind of an urgent situation where it's a mill apartment complex, a huge apartment commercial complex, where we spent about 4 hours trying to access a crawl space. It looks like this prior owner drilled in the concrete drill about 2 feet, poked a hole in there, and then we have kind of just an exterior system with the fan and the manometer. And they're taking a reading in these apartments, and it's a base level where obviously I can see that it's all dirt in there, and they cannot for the life of them, the entire crew and management, how we get into that crawl space. So which is a first for me. Usually you can get in there and put the plastic down and get it sealed nice and everything. So my concern is if it comes back at 4.0, we put the largest fan on the exterior, we can't really see how big that crawl space is. So with years of experience on this Zoom, what do you do next? Put another exterior leg and another fan and just hope you're getting great suction out of the space. You don't even know how big it is, and you're sucking all the air versus just the radon gases. So has anybody ever run into that?
I'll take that over if you don't mind, Ben.
Yeah.
Far be it from me to be a salesperson, Janet, but the way we build our distribution and manufacturing business is by personal service. In other words, all of my customers have my cell phone number. Now, what I have to offer is the oldest license in Illinois to do radon mitigation. But far more important than that is all my customers that have questions. My rule book is whatever answer we come up with, I want the report. So it's not so much that I have 25 years mitigation experience. I have customers all over, from Ron in Alaska to Maine and to New York and to Atlanta, Georgia, wherever. But all of them run into problems. Radon is not a perfect business. But when they run into a problem, I try to help them solve it. My phone number is available. And when the solution is accomplished, then I want to know the details so I can put it in the file to help the next person. So as I said, my advantage is not as much my experience as it is my unique position to offer help to anyone based on all the stories I get to hear. And so if you become a customer, most of you know me, so if you become a customer, that is the way we built our business from day one.
Okay, now forgive me for missing the beginning intro. A customer of
my distribution company. I'm a radon distribution company, David Smith Radon Supplies.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
because I can see the Festa fan, which we use back there in the background.
Okay, so if you buy Festa fans, you probably buy them from Festa themselves. Great friend of mine. We trade back and forth all the time. I will help you anytime you want. You can continue to buy your fans from him. But I guess the point is, I have some suggestions for you with this crawl space, but they'd be involved enough that you should call me. You should call me so we can one-on-one because it will take a little bit of time to discuss the possible solutions.
Okay, and
But-
I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but I'm not, again, picking up the radon. We are radon and mold, which from the business standpoint aspect, I did business consulting. The owner was selling, and I said, took out, family and people that weren't really contributing in a way that made this business successful. And I said, I'm going to buy it. So, and I love it. And I love everything you say. All my customers, realtors, they have my cell phone. It's personal. I go on site. These 45 minutes have been the best 45 minutes of my radon ownership. I don't feel so alone.
It's all
Trying to
downhill from here.
You've been,
It's
I
it's
love-
gonna get way more boring, I promise.
where
Well,
have you all been?
Feel free to
So-
call feel
Yeah.
free to call anytime next week. And if you just
Okay.
call David Smith Radon, I'll answer and I'll give you my cell phone number and we can have a discussion.
That's great, because I think we did, I don't mean, I'm speaking with guys, so it's easier to speak more freely, but it was a little bit of a ham and egger sometimes. I could see some of the stuff we went in, and I think that's okay to run a business, but I really am trying to infiltrate into the quality of bundling mold and radon, putting nice systems in, doing checks and monitors. And you guys seem like you're into the longevity game of radon. So-
And everyone here, I think, will agree, if you go back to when you first got your license or did anything to get yourself initiated in the radon industry, I think that's where so many of the courses fail, because I get people all the time saying, hey, I just got my license and went through the course and did all this studying, but I still don't know a thing about how to fix a house. And so I know here in Illinois, not to get too carried off, but here in Illinois, the American Lung Association, Illinois has their own licensing program, and the American Lung Association gave those tests, but they also, at the end of the test, said, we want comments. And the comment was always the same. You didn't teach me how to fix houses. And so they came to us and asked us to do a video. At the time, Ben and I were doing videos, asked us to do a video on how to fix a house. And so I thought about it a while, and we ended up doing a video where we filmed our guys doing the 10 basic steps to a radon mitigation. And then we gave it to the American Lung Association to include with the test. And then COVID hit. So it's kind of unfortunate, but I think they were on the right track, where half of the class was, radon does this and that to you, but doesn't have a thing to do with how to attach a pipe to a wall. But then we have this video also that actually shows a guy doing a roof, shows a guy hanging a pipe, shows a guy drilling the hole, shows a guy caulking the floor, shows a guy fixing a sump basin. So in other words, these are things that every person in this meeting started out like, how in the heck do you do this? Some of us I came from a building background, so it really helped. But all of us were what do they say, like a deer in the headlights, because we get our first job and we're like, boy, I don't know if I know how to do this, because I didn't learn how to do it. But anyway, that's where we try to resource our knowledge. We'd be glad to help you in any way we can.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I know it. I was first doing the Corbett through someone's house, and I was like, this doesn't feel natural. And someone, that was years ago. I'm way past that. I'm not there anymore. But it's true. You can understand the gases, the emissions, and what you're trying to achieve. But then when you have to go up or find the passive system and cutting in the pipe, and just the best way to do it while the pipe is dangling. We've been there, but it's a lot of on the job. It's
Sure.
not. Yeah. So that's comforting to know. Thank
Sure.
you.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Cool.
Anything else?
Well, let's jump in. I know we're reaching our 1 hour mark here. So if anybody needs to jump off, this is going to end up on YouTube. It's going to end up on apparently my Alexa. Oh, I said the name. I can't say anything now. Never mind. This is going to be this will be on the Facebook group still as well. So if you're not part of either of those, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll see it pop up. But the topic for today, uh, is how to get more reviews. We've talked in the previous weeks about the local search and going through when someone's searching for radon or mold or whatever, the different businesses that you guys are doing and whether or not you come up. One of the biggest factors is the number of reviews that you have. One of the biggest ways to build trust in whether or not you're going to hire someone is you're reading the reviews. A nice thing on Facebook is you'll see reviews. If any of your friends reviewed the same company, I will see that my friend recommends this company, and so that builds that extra trust. So the question is how do we get those reviews? How do we get the different ways that you can get either the reviews yourself, have your crew out there if you're not at the job site, so things like that. So I'm gonna blow into this real quick here, and if you've got questions, you can either throw it in the chat or jump on real quick. And let me pull this up real quick. All right. So tell me, hopefully you can see a nice blank screen here, and we'll get that. There we go. So we're gonna go through this, and we're gonna look at some different ways, 10 different ways to get more reviews. That's what I propose here. So first thing, most important is a hard truth you got to ask yourself is, did I actually provide 5-star service? Because if you're gonna get more reviews and your reviews are all going to be 2 or 3 stars or 1 star, you do not need more reviews. That is not beneficial to your business. You need to look at some of the things that you're doing. So the number one thing on getting more reviews is just do a great job. And we've talked about this in other weeks, but how quickly are you responding to the lead when it comes in? How fast are you getting back to them? How fast are you getting a quote to them? How fast are you if they send you an email or have a question? And this isn't just the clients. These are obviously real estate agents. These are other service providers that are connecting with you. How fast are you returning those calls? Because I guarantee everyone in here has sent a feeler out to a business and they didn't hear from them in a couple days, and they ended up going with somebody else because that other business got back to them faster. So when you are speaking with the people that are trying to give you money, are you kind and polite and say please and thank you? Are you building trust with them? Do they immediately feel like you are someone that they can trust? Is that we talk about is this somebody that I would leave my kid or my dog with, right? And so I want to make sure that you are not, you're answering questions, but you're really just in a spot where people are trusting the service that you're providing, and also that they feel like you are going to be someone that they are going to allow into their home. And that is a really big deal for a lot of people. And so do they feel like they can not only leave you in their home, but they may run to the grocery store while you're gone, and they can trust that you're not going to steal things or break things or make a mess, or you will leave in the middle of the job and leave the door unlocked, or that kind of thing. There are obviously boundaries issues, and in the first, some of you give out your cell phone to everybody, and you don't want them texting you in the middle of the night. But if you like to work 24/7 and you want to respond to messages and things to people, they do appreciate that. Did you explain your pricing and the value of your service? And so when we look at this, we're going to go, okay, well, what do you mean by the value of the service? One of the things that we talk about is the products and the things that are used. Are you showing the difference between using visqueen in a crawl space and then using a really thick vapor barrier that you can crawl on top of, right? Are you showing people that this house that you are looking at that's a 100-year-old home is going to need 3 different suction points, where another bid might only have one. And so you have to explain to people the difference between those prices. And so then when they see a value for the service that you are providing. Some mitigators, they guarantee that they're going to get it down below 4, and some mitigators guarantee they're going to get it down below 1. And I'm not telling you what you should do or not do, but if you're a person that's going to guarantee it to below 1 or undetectable or whatever it may be, that is a higher value than someone who is just going to get it below 4 when, the World Health Organization is saying 2.7, right? So you can explain that, and you can give that the value of the service that you provide. And obviously the speed in which you can, I don't think I have that on here, but the speed in which you can provide the service. So are you scheduling someone for 2 months out? This is someone who just found out that they're literally getting lung cancer because they haven't taken care of this. And you're like, yeah, but you're fine for 2 more months. Now, could you explain to them that there's no such thing as a radon emergency, and that it's okay if if we wait a little bit? But if you're in a spot where you're weeks out, now we're in a spot where we talked about earlier today, this is that point to get to that second crew or that third crew, because we want to be taking care of people. They will potentially find somebody that's faster than that. And when they're going to leave that review, you don't want to give them any reason to say they were great, but we had to wait for 3 weeks or a month for them to come do it. So did you use materials worth of pricing? I talked about this in the vapor barrier. If you're using a better fan, if you're using PVC instead of gutter material, if you're using a better caulk that is going to, if you're using caulk at all, to caulk all the cracks in the basement. So if you're using materials that will mandate a higher price, then you can show that A/B comparison to someone, and you can explain to them the difference between what you're using and why it's better. Did you arrive on time, and did you finish in the time that you told them that it was going to be done? So if you say, hey, this is going to be a 6-hour job, and you finish in 4, that's great. But if you say it's going to be a 4-hour job and you finish in 6, that family may have made plans for that evening or that afternoon, or they took off a half day of work. So did you arrive on time? I know some people think it's great to show up half an hour early, unless your job is supposed to start at 8 o'clock in the morning. I am frantically trying to get my kids out of the house at 7:30. So if you show up, I'm going to be very upset with you. You are not providing me something nicer at that point. You are becoming a burden to my family. The number of service providers that I've had that I see sitting out in their truck out in front of my house, eating a sandwich or something else like that, do it down the road somewhere, sit in a park. Now I will say this: there have been times when they didn't think I was going to be home until noon, and they're sitting out there at 11:30. I got home early. I'm like, hey guys, if you're ready to go, I know. But I'm also in the service business, so I understand. Those guys are going to appreciate that if I do that for them. So did you this clean? This is are you clean? Do you smell good? Are you if you are a smoker, like you need to drive around for an hour with the windows down prior to, you need to spray yourself for Febreze. There are people, obviously, you now have a client who understands air quality, and you're going to come into their home and you are going to smell bad. And you will leave a trail behind you. And so if you've got guys working for you and they are not frequent showerers, then this is something that you may need to and again, when we're talking about hiring, make those expectations up front. Hey, we are a company that we're going to be clean. Our shirts are going to be tucked in. We're going to wear belts so that when, we're doing the job and we're down on our hands and knees, we're not flashing these homeowners. We're going to smell good. we're gonna put a thing of mints in the car so that our breath is good. We're gonna do all those things so that we're clean, and that we're not tracking. You guys are out on the roof, you're back on the side of the house, you're in muddy areas. Do you have booties for your shoes? Do your guys, maybe you have two pairs of shoes, right? They have an indoor pair of shoes and an outdoor pair of shoes. And when, I've seen businesses that service my house, they will bring a mat, one of those like floor mats, and they will set it right inside the door, one of those rubber mats, right? So they're going to come in and they're going to set that down so that they can take their shoes on and off. The homeowners notice that. Like I said, it's the number one thing that people are looking for. And then when the surface is done, hopefully the homeowner's there and you're able to go through and explain to them what you've done, explain to them how it works, explain to them what, the manometer is, where the fan is, where what you should expect. One of the things we did with David, a decade ago, was a lot of people were asking about the price of having this fan on the side of their house. And so what we did was we said, hey, listen, having a fan on the side of the house, it's going to cost you about the equivalent of running a light bulb 24/7, right? So it's not going to be a big deal. And so one of the things we were doing with him is that we were having him deliver an LED light bulb, with the job, saying, hey, just swap out one of your light bulbs in your house, and now all of a sudden you've offset the price of the fan. So if you've got, some of these things that people they want to know what's going to cost them down the road. They want to know if they need to do any maintenance to it, if there's anything they need to, expect from it. If you're putting on critter guards, you can tell them about the critter guard. And so there's different things. So you're explaining the service upon completion. And then cleaned. When you leave, is it cleaner than it was when you got there? Did you sweep up the floor in the basement? Did you clean up your mess? You've got dust, from core drilling. Did you wipe that down? And so those are the things that, I want to make sure that you are doing inside of that. And then after the service, a week later, 3 days later, some of you who are dropping a charcoal test as part of your mitigation, you send an email to them. Hey, make sure that they did the charcoal test. Make sure that they sent that in. If you know that they're sending the charcoal test in and maybe the results are coming to you, that would be a great way to follow up with those results to show them, hey, here's the results. Here's what we did. Here's what we had before, and you're all set. And so that is those are things that you can do to make sure that you're actually providing a service worth getting, the 5-star reviews. Number 2 is ask in person. Seriously, did you ask for the review? So if you're not asking for the review, then you've got, you're probably, not going to get one. A great time to do this is when they're already glowing about your service. So if you're standing there, I talked to Bill from American Radon this week. He's up in the Chicagoland area, and he has got a ton of great reviews. And one of the things that, I just said, hey, man, how are you getting these reviews? And he's like, well, I just look at people with my puppy dog eyes, and I just ask them for the review. And so I was looking for a photo when I sent out the email of someone just begging, and so people are on your team. You're doing all those things. Again, if commerce has happened, they've given you money, you've given them a service, but now in theory they are on your team, and so you want to, at that point in time, you want to have those people be in that exact moment they could do a review. And so that is something we want to make sure we ask for it. And also tell them that it matters. You can explain to the client, now that they're on your team, now that they know that they're part of your family, say, hey, listen, if we've provided you a 5-star service, this really matters to our business. We really want to have this here for you, or for future clients. They're going to see this. It's going to help other people understand what we're trying to do. And so that is one of those things. And so another number 3, sending a follow-up email. So this is, if you didn't get the review, we want to send that follow-up email and say, hey, put those links directly to the review sites that you want. Spread them out. Obviously, Google is number 1. That's the number 1 place where people go to find services, but they are also on Yelp, Facebook, Nextdoor, and other sites as well. So you want to make sure that if you want somebody to go to Facebook, you want them to go to Google, that they're going to do that. They're probably going to click on one. So if you are wanting to steer them, put that at the top of the list. And then use the service as a follow-up opportunity. So if you have something that you need to check on or something like that, that's a great opportunity for you to do it. Number 4, send a postcard. You have the address of everyone that you've worked for, hopefully, and so you can send them a postcard, and on there have a QR code because it's something physical. So you can have them scan that QR code, and it'll take you right to the place where you want them to leave that review. So that would mean multiple QR codes. Those of you, this is just a quick note on QR codes. Don't put QR codes in anything that will arrive on a computer or a phone. So you don't email QR codes, and you don't do Facebook posts with QR codes. You don't send out text messages with QR codes. They are already on their phone. They are already on their computer. They're reading something, so they can click on it. So in that case, you want to leave a link. QR codes are really great when it's a banner or a sign or something printed that they're not going to type in a really long link. So that's where you use a QR code. For our clients, what we do is we run QR codes where we can track those. We can track how often people are scanning them, because if I put a different QR code on one postcard, if I put, I can see if they are scanning it, but then they're not filling it out. So we need to adjust what we're doing, our verbiage and that kind of thing. You can use, I went to a couple things here. You can use an online postcard service. I'll combine these, and you can include a picture of the client's system. Make it personalized. You can take, when you are at the end of the job, take your phone and then turn around and like hug the radon pipe with like a thumbs up or something, or have your guys standing out in front of the or next to the pipe on the side of the house or something, because then when that person sees that postcard show up at their house, they are going to see their actual house. And so there are some online postcard services that you can actually just upload a photo. It takes a few minutes, but again, what is that worth? It's a big deal. I do want to go back. Speaking of guys, if you are not the actual person that's finishing up the job, if you got a foreman there or someone else, you want your guys to be getting reviews as well. I know that in David's company, they used to bribe them with Subway gift cards if they got a review. And I know that some business owners will do a $10, $20, $25, $50 bonus for the day if you get a review. And so it matters that much that you can, incentivize your guys to just anchor themselves, handcuff themselves to the radiator and not leave until a review is there. So don't do that. One way we can get some reviews from past jobs, again, send postcards to past clients. So you've got their name and address, and we want to send a postcard to them, and you can make it silly. Hey, just thinking about your radon system. Hope it's okay. But it's also an opportunity to remind them to check their system, make sure that their manometer is pulling air, making sure that their fan is on, and that they should be retesting their house every couple of years, whether they got a radon system or not. And so you can send out a postcard that just says, "Hey, it's been a few years since we installed this in your home, and if your fan is still working, great. But if it's not working, that's also a way to generate some more business for fan replacements, right? So you should just be on an automatic thing to be sending that out. But in there, you can say, hey, I know it's been a really long time. We're just trying to generate some more reviews. Scan this QR code if we did a great job." I do want to go way back to the first slide when we're talking about, did you provide 5-star service? One of the things that I do with any business that I'm working with is, from the very first moment that they're hiring me, whether they have decided to work with me, one of the things that I will say to them is, hey, I am going to provide you a service. You are going to give me money. It is going to be an exchange that we hope we're both happy with here. But my goal through the entire process from this moment on is to give you 5-star service. I absolutely want to give you 5-star service. I want to do everything from the service to the product to everything that you get from me. I want it to be 5 stars. At any time throughout the process of me working for you, if I am not giving you 5-star service, can you please tell me? Because I want to correct that. I want to make it right in the process of doing the job. I don't want you to tell me, I don't want you to tell me 18 months from now or leave me a bad review or whatever else. I want to give you that 5-star service. And so, then, and I'll tell people up front, hey, when the job is done, it's really important to me, to my business, to my family, for you to leave a review. And I'm really hoping for a 5-star review. So if I've done that, if I've given you perfect service, can you please leave me that review when it's over? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. And again, that sets them up that they can't complain later, because I'm telling them, I want you to complain to me. I want you to tell me if I'm doing something wrong during the process of our relationship. And so that is something that, and we have check-ins along the way. And again, that may be the first phone call for you. That may be right when your guy gets there, or when you get there to get the job started. And then it may be, halfway through or at the end of it, and then the follow-up later. So the client is not surprised that you're asking for that, review. So let me jump in here, come back to it. Leave behinds. This is probably the most important thing. So if you have anything that you're leaving behind at the job, so you have a flyer that explains, obviously, your stuff that you've got tied to the radon system. I know in David's company, they've got flyers that they put on the sump, explaining that it's part of a radon reduction system. They have their stuff on that's actually zip tied to the actual pipe with a manometer. And chances are that years and years will go by and people will never ever look at that. But when you get to when you're all wrapped up and you're getting ready to leave, if you're doing a payment then, or if they've already paid, if you're leaving an invoice for them that's physical, also leave them some literature, something that explains what you did, what it is that's happening. You can tell them the half-life of radon is 12 hours, so that by the time you wake up tomorrow, you're not going to have any radon in your house. And here's a charcoal test, maybe some instructions on the charcoal test. But on there, in big bold letters, probably at the very top of this, is, hey, remember when I told you that I was going to give you 5-star service? Here's your opportunity right here. This is the moment. And hopefully you are standing there with that client as you're handing them those leave behinds, and that you are, you're showing them the bullet points, and you're showing them those things that are important and why they're important and what they are. And those are the things that they are, and they're ready to scan the QR code and leave your review right there while you wait. And so that is a great thing on the leave behinds to do that. So anything, it's got the system, any maintenance they have to do, contact information, radon facts, some things that they can, you are now deputizing them into the radon industry to go out and spread the word about the dangers of radon. So this is an opportunity to give them some bullet points. So they're going to call their friends. Side note, this is a great opportunity to get them some type of referral or something like that. Thank them. This is how you feed your family. This is how your guys feed their families. Not only were you in there and you're making the air safe for them to breathe, but we just really appreciate the opportunity to serve your family and your house, and so it's important, and we appreciate it. So those people see those things. Again, throw those QR codes directly on there. And I mentioned this, offer a referral bonus, right? So we talk about how much we're paying for, Angie's List or Google Ads or other marketing initiatives, or you're paying, me to rank you up to the top of the SEO or top of Google and number one in the local map search. It can't beat having someone who, I mean, like right now, David Smith's company has mitigated my office, my last two homes, my in-laws' homes, my a photo here. I can't remember where it is. It's coming up. It's going to be one of my best friend's homes, and so David has, his company has done 10, 15, 20 grand just in my circle, right? Just in the people that I'm related to, or my close people. And so don't ever, those referrals are huge. Now, automate review cultivation. So this would be something like having software. Some of you are using different lead generation software, or using your invoicing or things like that they can send out emails or text messages asking for those. We have that built into the software for our clients as well, that I can send out a text or I can send out emails asking for those reviews, and it doesn't and we stagger those, so that every once in a while they're getting that email, they're getting that text. When they click on it, then it stops sending that, so we can tell that they've gone through and they've left that review. And so you want to automate that so that you can just have that going. And if you're really great at it and you're doing it back, at the house, then there's no need for the automation, right? Because you're getting those reviews at the end of the job. Contact some. You just need reviews, right? So let's contact some of your home service partners. So if you're in mitigation, call your testing companies. If you're in testing, call the mitigation companies. If you work with plumbers, big ones, obviously we want to work with radon testers, mitigators, home inspectors. So if home inspectors are getting you business, let's make sure that you can do a reciprocal. You leave them a Google review, Facebook review, they leave you one. Real estate agents. This is a tough one because, real estate agents, they're the absolute worst. Make sure my wife didn't hear that. Those of you who are just meeting me, my wife is an agent here locally. And so, but yeah, they're looking out for themselves, but those that use you a lot, those reciprocal Google reviews, it matters to them, and they have just as much trouble. They're not doing nearly as many jobs as you are. So a great review from you saying, hey, this is an agent that really works well, and it's really, helping their clients make great decisions about radon. That does make a difference. And then again, your other service providers that might be feeding you some business, plumbers, HVAC, that kind of stuff. Number 9, on your website and in your emails, have a button that links directly to the review that you want. So add a link on your website in your signature that directs people to that. I sent it out as part of my testing, the whole email that says, here's your test, and here's your results. So, please leave us a great review. And so you want to put that. I could go either way of it being in your email signature, but that is a spot to have it in there. But definitely somewhere on your website that not only shows your reviews, but you can point clients to that in the future. So, and do not forget to respond to your reviews. So when you see Google reviews coming in, you should be getting an email notification to that, and you want to make sure that you're responding. Respond to every single one, the good ones and the bad ones. Customer service is a spectator sport, so you want to make sure that you are responding to all of them. And I will say this, and see if I can go back one. On the Google reviews, I started typing this out, and I feel I'm just going to say it. When someone leaves you a bad review, it is very difficult as a business owner because they are calling your baby ugly. And I get that, and you get emotional, and you go in and you start becoming a keyboard warrior, and you were just going to let them know how horrible they were and how much trouble they were and their house was. That is going to be seen by everyone in the future for the rest of time. And so, don't do that when you're emotional and you see that come in. I would even suggest having someone else maybe draft something. We do that all day long. One of the services that we provide is we actually respond to every review for our clients, because I am not emotionally attached. The other thing is, and again, just putting it super politely, some of you are great mitigators and great testers, but you do not have a great ability to write out a long, wonderful sentence. And that's okay. But I do want to make sure that you don't have spelling errors. You don't you have full sentences with periods and spaces in between them, and that you are writing something that makes sense. And so handing that off to someone is not a bad thing. It makes you look more professional if you're responding well. So what we try to do is thank the person. If they put any type of indicator in there about, oh, hey, we left it, they left it so clean. We'll try to respond to something that they said. What I see a lot are businesses that have a cut and paste response to every single review. We're traveling next week, and so I'm looking at hotels, and I see these bad reviews, and they're like, the place was dirty and had bed bugs. And then I see the Holiday Inn response that says, we're so glad you enjoyed your stay. Come back anytime. And we're like, no, they just said it was dirty. And so it shows a lack of empathy and paying attention if you're not actually responding in the, especially if you have real data. So for instance, if you know that house was, at a radon level of 20 and you lowered it to 2, that's a great thing to put in your response. Hey, Kathy, we're so proud that we were able to take your house, from that radon level of 20, which, is the equivalent of smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a day or whatever it is, down to an almost undetectable amount. And so when people are looking at that, they're seeing the response, they're seeing what you're doing. And so that is absolutely something that you want to make sure that you're really responding to those reviews. It's a little harder on Facebook, but definitely in Google and on the other Yelps and Nextdoors and those guys as well. So I already tipped my cap here, but this is the 10 ways to get more reviews. And if I'm going to give you above and beyond service, then I have to give you 11 ways to get more reviews. And that is to go above and beyond. I'm trying to do so by giving you one extra way to do it. But also, these are things that you guys can do. You guys are all handy. When you are in that house and you go to grab the doorknob to the basement and the doorknob almost falls off, can you go, hey, I can fix this for you real quick? If you've got something that you can do while you're there, that is something that can help the homeowner in some way. You see that you're in there and the smoke alarm is chirping, right? hey, I got a 9-volt battery. It's brand new. It's a good one. I'm going to throw it in your smoke alarm, but mostly because it's driving you nuts. What are those things that you can do while you're there, that can help out the client, that goes above and beyond? Did you see something in the house that maybe they don't know about? They don't ever go into their basement. Maybe their water heater is leaking and they don't know that. Maybe you're seeing something coming off the, in their HVAC system. Maybe when you're in the crawl space, you see termites, right? What is that thing that you see in there, that you can tell them about, that they wouldn't necessarily know, right? You were up, in this photo that we're looking at, you were up on the roof, and you saw there was a bird's nest, coming out of, one of the air intakes, or the air duct line, or something like that. That actually happened in the house next to mine, in my last house. There's a bird's nest in the bathroom vent, on the second story. And I think that may have coincided when David's team was there. Oh, I forgot. That was another one that they did. You did my neighbor's house. And so when they were there, they were helping get the bird's nest out of the, because they have a ladder, and most people don't have a 20-foot ladder, right? And so that's something that didn't cost them anything. It took a couple extra minutes and improved the family's life there. And this is a hard one for some of you. Did you overbid the job because you thought it was going to be harder than it ended up being? You can lower the invoice. It is okay to charge someone what it should have been charged, even though they agreed to pay you more. That is going to give you more clout with that client than just about anything else. I don't know about you, but if you've ever taken your car to the mechanic and they quoted you $2,500 to swap out a new transmission, and they came back to you and they're like, hey man, we got in there and it was the easiest one we did all day. It's going to be $1,700. I now tell my friends about that mechanic. If somebody on Facebook asks for a mechanic, I am racing to my keyboard to tell them about my guy. That actually happened to me. We had a beat up old minivan and the alternator went out, and my guy was working on a couple of other issues. And he's like, Ben, we were in there and your alternator is almost shot. He goes, I'm junking out an identical minivan. He said, and it has a almost brand new alternator because they had swapped it out. He said, I grabbed it, I threw it in your van. You are good to go. And I'm like, oh, well, that's great. But I wasn't really, I was hoping I wouldn't have to deal with that. He's like, oh, no, there was no charge for it. We already had everything taken apart. My mom has spent 10 grand with him because all she does is buy crappy cars. But she has they've gotten all of her business. They've got all my friends' business. They've got all the business of anyone that I can possibly send to them because of that alternator. And that was something that they could have made. I don't know what the going rate on alternator is, $400 or $500 on swapping that out. But because he didn't do that, that was a marketing expense for him that is huge. So take their dog for a walk. I mean, seriously, go above and beyond. If the dog is there and they've got the dog caged up for 5 hours, play with the dog for a minute, right? Be a friendly person and do those things that they're going to leave you in that review that is going to, really, really make a big difference. And so that is the quick, here's 100 different things you could do. We do have some really cool stuff that we share with our clients, that actually takes that in-person ask, kind of a neat little trick that we offer. But these are a bunch of different ways that will get you more reviews. And nobody likes asking for it, but it does make a huge difference in the way and where you show up on Google and whatnot. So, it is it's past 3:30 here. You guys are all sticking around. It's awesome. So any questions or things, Bud, you're muted. So if you want to talk, you got to unmute again there. So anything for anybody?
Well, I would say, Ben, that I think there was a lot here, and because I'd like to go through this session again because I think you covered a lot of good stuff. I just think some of the folks might have been not ready for us going over that far. So I think that I'd like for you to lead off with that in one of these, because I think this one is worth really repeating the whole thing, because it is a good so many good ideas to build your business. Let's put it on the docket to go through this whole presentation again. If everybody...
Well, the good news is, David, it's going to be on Facebook and on YouTube, so people can watch it anytime, and we'll chop it up and we'll get it on there. So it will be available for everybody to see, and so yeah, I think we're set. Again, next week, no call next week, but we appreciate you guys sticking around today. It was we got a lot in, and in between, if you're on Facebook and you have some topics or things you want us to cover, absolutely leave us a message and leave us a note there. And yeah, we still have all the YouTube questions, so we'll hit those here in some future ones. So I think we're good.
Good.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
See you
All right.
later.
Thank you guys. Have a great weekend. Have fun